welcome back to the class. How are you all? I hope you all are good. I'm also good. Yeah, you say that mom is telling on her side that she's good now. So yeah, that's also nice. No, that I should also tell my thing to you that how I am feeling. So yeah, I'm feeling energetic, and yeah, today we are going to revise the another topic of acid, bases, and salts. And like students in the last class, what we have discussed, do you remember it? Have you watched that video? Ye- So, in the last class, what we have discussed about? We have discussed about the chemical properties of the acid and bases. Exactly, students. What we have discussed in the last class, that what are the chemical properties of them. For example, that how they show color change in the case of the indicators when we are having different indicators. What are the reaction of the acid and bases, and what are the reactions of the metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates. So, how like that we have learned about the chemical properties of the acid and bases. So till now student we have come to know, so it's very basic thing for us now, that we know this thing, that the acids are what? Acids are those compounds which give H ions in the water, and the bases are those compounds which give OH negative ion in the in water. So like this students, we have come to know this thing very clearly, and it's like we have discussed, like we have repeated this sentences so many times. Okay, and even the one of the reaction which we have revised so many times, that is the neutralization reaction. And see student, it is one of the important reaction. Fine, even though when you are going to your higher classes, that like in class 11th and 12th, this reaction will be there also. It's a very common reaction and it would be there. Okay, so it's just that the HCl reacting with the NaOH, that means which is a base here, converted into what? It will convert into a salt along with water. So like we have discussed all of these till now. Now students, what we are going to discuss today, see, like I have told you this thing, that okay, acids are of two type, or if I say that the bases are of two types, that one is the strong one and another one is the weak one. So we have discussed this thing, that the if I have divided the acids and bases, so we have discussed that the both are, one is the strong acid and one is the weak acid, and one would be the strong base and another one is the weak base. But the thing is that on what basis we are telling this thing? You got my point, that on what basis we are saying that okay, HCl is a strong base, strong acid, and the acetic acid, that is the organic acid, is a weak acid. So on what basis we are determining the strong, like strong and the weak characteristic of the acid and bases? So students, today is the day, like we are going to discuss about these points, that how we can determine that which one of them is stronger or which one them of is the weaker. So students, the thing is that which the topic which we are going to study today is somewhat very interesting. Even though, like if you are going to a high standards, even in your competitive exams, I can say, even in your, like after 12th, if you are going for JEE engineering exams, medical exams, or any competitive exam, and even in your boards also. So student, this topic, that's the topic of pH, the questions related to it, the theory related to it, the logical concepts related to it is very important. Like it is there, even though pH question is always there in competitive exams. Okay, got my point. So please try to listen this lecture very carefully. And it's just that student, that the pH part is like how we are going to start it. That first of all, we'll take that how we consider that the strong acid is this and the weak acid is this, and even though for the bases also. Now student, in this picture you can see that one of the scale has been given here. So this scale, what represents that, what's the scale representation is what here. So students, like if I tell you that this picture describe the pH scale, this is called as the pH scale. And you can say that the pH scale is or that strip, we can say that it is worked as one of the universal indicator. That means the color, the number of the pH over this scale determine whether the acid or the base is the stronger in nature or weaker in nature. Fine. So that's why we study the pH scale, because pH scale help us to relate the strength of the acid and base. Relate the strength of an acid or a base. Of fine students, like whether it will be a strong one or it will be a weaker one. So we'll see that. Fine, that how we relate all these things. But is just that I just want you to be familiar about pH scale. So what's the pH scale, student? That from that scale we come to know that whether the acid is strong one or the weak one, and similarly with the bases also. Now you'll say that, ma'am, how these colors are present here, that you can see that in between in the picture we have written that it is neutral, and then before the neutral it is the acid, and after the neutral it is the alkali. So these are the ranges, students, that on that ranges we come to know whether the compound is acid in nature, basic in nature, or the neutral one. That means neither it is having acid character neither or a basic character. So if I ask you that which one of that thing or the okay, we'll take as thing only that which is having the neutral, that the pH of 7. It is only a water, that the water is having a pH of neutral, that is the 7 only. Okay, so we consider it as, but it is how, students, the water which we are using, it is having some pH, like it's not exactly 7, but we consider it as 7. Okay, it's somewhat like 6.9, somewhat like that, 6.8. So we consider it at 7. So the students, again, the pH scale we are going to study, and it is just about that how we relate it with the strength of an acid or a base. Fine. And the color which you are looking at this picture, so these color determine that whether the acid or the base we are using is the stronger one or the weaker one, and how we are going to relate it, so we'll see that. Okay, so first of all, if I ask you that who have discovered, like who has discovered the pH scale. So students, the discovery of pH scale has been done by one of the scientists whose name is Sorensen. Okay, so Sorensen has developed this pH scale which work as a universal indicator, or like for example, the litmus paper actually we use, and from the color of that litmus paper we determine whether which color is matching with the pH scale, and that's how we determine its color. For example, student, if okay, example I'm taking, I have taken a substance or the A compound, and when I have dipped the red litmus into it, okay, I have dipped the red litmus into it, so this red color, what will happen, that this red color is converting into a dark red color. Okay, the red litmus paper is not actually that much dark, but it is converting into the dark red color. So so this is the pH scale here. Fine, now when I have compared this dark red color with this pH scale, so what I have find out that the color of this dark red is matching with the color which is present at the position of 1. So from there I have come to know that, okay, the pH of this particular compound A is equals to 1. Fine. So students, we can say the pH scale is having the pH which ranges from 1 to 14. Okay, so it ranges from 1 to 14. Now students, what's the thing about it? It is that if it is ranges 1 to 40, so it's just that there would be three parts, students. How? It is the 1 to 6, 7, and 8 to 14. So 1 to 6 is the pH of the acid compounds, 7 is for the neutral compounds, and the 8 to 14 is for the basic compounds, or we can say that for the alkali compounds. Okay, so don't get confused about the alkali or the basic. They both are the similar things. Fine. So this is the thing, student, that the pH 1 to 14 is scale which we see. So we consider that 1 to 6 is for the acid, 7 is for neutral, and 8 to 14 is for a basic and alkali. And we'll come to know that why we are taking 1 to 6 range for the acid, and why we are taking the range of 8 to 14 for bases. Okay, so that's the point, student. So you can see here that the pH scale is we measure the how the acidic or the basic water is. Okay, like if we are talking about water or any other acid or base also we can see here. Okay, so these are the colors which we get from it, that we can get either dark red color or somewhat color, and then we compare that color with the scale, and the color which is showing, like if I consider this picture, so dark red is matching with this dark red, so we can say that the E compound is acid compound. Okay, so it is the acid compound and it is having the pH of 1 also. That's how. So I hope till now you come to know that what is the pH. Okay, now it's about the calculation of pH. So how we are going to see, first of all, there are many things which we have to discuss now regarding the pH scale. Okay, so student, please look at it very carefully. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You will say that ma'am is taking the test of counting right now. No, student, it's just that I have drawn the pH scale here because I have to clear some of the concepts here. Fine. So this is the pH scale, student, starting from 1, ending at 14. So what I have told you this thing that from 1 to 6, it is the acidic range. Okay. 7, we have always considered it for the neutral one. And 8 to 14, student, it is the basic range, or we can say that the alkali range. Fine. Now students, that why we are considering them as this, because students, what happened that when we move from here to there, that means if we are moving from left to right, if we move, so what happens, student, that the concentration of H ion decreases. Okay, and right to left if we move, that means in this direction, so students, the concentration of OH negative ion decreases, and in this condition we can say that the OH negative ion concentration increases, and in this case we can say the OH negative ion concentration, H ion concentration increases. Okay, now why I'm telling you this thing, students, because it is the important thing for you. See, when we have seen that acids always give H ion, and I have already told you this thing that the acid which is giving the more number of H ion, it will consider as the strong acid, and the acid which is giving the less number of H ion, it will consider as a weak acid. And the same thing will be for the base also. Like if the base is giving the more number of OH negative ion, so it will consider it as a strong base, but if it is giving the less number of OH negative ion, then it will consider as a weak base. So student, what happened, if you see that this is the acidic range, so that means in this part we are getting the more number of H ions, and in this, that means in this condition the OH negative ions are not there. Exactly, and this range is for the alkali and basic, that means in this range we are getting more of the OH negative ion. Now this point comes here, that the pH is equals to the minus logarithm of the H ion. That means we can say that this pH is directly proportional, that this pH is the minus logarithm, not directly proportional, minus logarithm of the H ions. That means if we are getting more number of the H ions, so the pH is going to be decreased. That if I write down it here, that the pH is going to be decreased if the concentration of the H ion is going to be increased. Okay, so remember this point, students, that it is the condition that the pH is going to be decreased when the H ion is going to be increased. That means we can say that the acid which is having the pH of 1, it would be considered as a strong acid, and the acid which is having the pH of 6, it will considered as a weak acid. Fine. So this is the condition, and we'll say that the pH increases when the concentration of H ion decreases. Now students, you will say that in this basic region we are not having any H ion, we are having OH negative ions. That means when we go from left to right or from right to left, I have written that the OH ion is decreasing. Exactly, that means from left to right when we are going, you can consider this point that the OH negative ion concentration increases. That means the base which is having having the pH of 14, so that base will be considered as a strong base, and the base which is having the pH of 8, that base will be considered as a weak base, because at that point the OH negative ion is less, whereas at the pH of the 14 the OH negative ion is more. So students, don't get confused about it, that in the acid the condition is that the pH should be lower for the strong acid, but for the strong base the pH should be higher. Okay, and why it is so? It is just because of the H ions which we are getting, or the OH negative ions which we are getting. Okay, so when we are moving from left to right, so the H ions are decreasing. That means in this directions also, student, H ion is decreasing. So you can exactly see that if any of the acid which is having the pH of 6, that means it is giving the less number of H ions. And I have already told you that the compound or the substance which is giving the less number of H negative, H positive ion, it would considered as a weak acid, whereas which is having the more number of H ions, it will give more number of H ions, and it will considered as a strong acid. Now for the base part, in this direction OH negative ion is increasing, and I have told you this thing already, that the OH negative ion more, then the base will be stronger. If the OH negative ion is less, so the base will be weaker. Got my point, student? So this is the basic concept of the pH scale. Okay, and that is how, student, we consider that whether the acid or whether the base is stronger in nature or weaker in nature. Got my point? Actually, I have one question also. So, student, what I have written here, so you have to only think that if the pH is going to be decreased, if the pH is decreasing, that means we are getting more H ions. If the more H ion would be there, so it will be a strong acid. Fine. And this formula is used to calculate the, okay, and this formula is used to calculate the pH of the particular acid or a base. Now you'll say, ma'am, how we calculate the pH for a base? So student, is just that okay, I'll tell you this thing also, that how we do that. But first of all, do you understand all of these things? Very good. So first of all, I just want to discuss one question here, then we'll do the calculation part also. Okay, so the question is, okay, I have to see the question, students. So just give me a minute that what question I have to discuss here. So, okay, so the question is, you have two solutions, okay? Two solutions we are having, that is the A and B. So they have given that the pH of the solution A, it is 6, and the pH of the solution B is 8. Okay, so the A part says that which solution has more hydrogen ion concentration. Hydrogen ion concentration, because student, concentration plays a very important part. Like if the concentration of H ion increasing, then the pH is going to be decreased. So all these concepts depend upon the H. So you just have to remember that for the strong acid we require more H ions, and that for the pH is lesser, and for that means it would be a lower pH, and for the base we need more OH negative ions, and for that the pH would be the highest one. That means if it is giving more and more number of OH negative ion, it will be a stronger base, and maybe its pH will be around 13 or 14. Okay, and the B part for it, you'll say, ma'am is like ma'am has just disturbed this question of the solution is acidic and which one is basic. Okay, so student, like the question which I am getting it, like I am writing right down here, it is the NCRT book question. Okay, so like it's a practice for NCRT as well. So students, like we are having two solutions, A and B. pH for A they have given 6, for pH B they have given us 8. We have to tell that which one is having more hydrogen ion, and the second question is that which of the solution is acidic and which one is basic. So students, like starting with its solution, So now if the pH of the A is 6 and the pH of the B is 8. So from the pH scale, always remember this thing that before 7, that means 1 to 6 is the acidic range. That means this one of the solution is acidic one and this one is the basic one. Okay, and now we come to know, okay, the second part has been solved already. We can say that the A solution is the acidic one and the B solution is the basic one. Now the first part we have to solve. The first part say that which solution has more hydrogen ion concentration. So student, they are asking about the hydrogen ion concentration, and hydrogen ions we get in what condition? When the solution is acidic in nature. Exactly. So we can say that the solution A will give the more H ions. That means the answer for the A part is the solution A. Because students, if the solution A is acidic in nature, then it will give the more H ions as compared to the solution B. So that's how the question can come in your exam. Fine, students? Good. I hope you are getting all of these things. Now coming to the calculation part. So student, if we do the calculation part for the pH, so it says that the pH is the minus logarithm of the H ions. Okay, and then if you say that, ma'am, okay, then what about the pH of base part? So student, it is just that if we are getting the pH, so we have to subtract it from 14 so that we can get the pH of the base also. Okay, and how we do that? See, this is the formula. And see students, sometimes the formula can also be find out in the form of minus logarithm of the hydronium ion. So it is also the H ions only, so don't get confused about it. Fine. Now how it is going to be? See, question is that the solution A is having the concentration, that means the H ion concentration, if I say, it is given as the 10 raised power minus 2, and the solution B of the H ion is given as the 10 raised power minus 6. Now I have to tell that which is having the more pH. Okay, so students, like pH for the first condition, if I solve for the A1, that it is okay. So it is the pH minus logarithm of the H ion. It is 10 raised power minus 2, which comes out to be 2 here. Second is pH is equals to minus logarithm of the 10 raised power minus 6, and it comes out to be 6. So it is for A and it is for B. So students, for pH for A is we can see here that the pH for A is is lesser than the pH of B. So student, which one will be the more acidic in nature? As I have already told you that if the H ion consider, that means if the pH is more, that the pH is less than the then we can say that if the pH is less, so we say that it would be a strong acid. That means A solution will be strong acid and this will be a weak acid. So don't get confused about the abbreviation which I'm using here. So it is SA is a strong acid, SB is a strong base. Oh, WA is weak acid, WB is weak base. Okay, so that's how we do the calculation for the pH. Okay, that these type of calculations are there. Now students, the thing is that if I ask you that what would be the pH of the okay, this is for the acidic part. Fine. But if I consider as NaOH, so NaOH is what, students? So the NaOH is a base because it dissociates as the N positive ion along with the OH negative ion. Exactly. So what we can do here, students, that whenever we are having any base, so how we can do its calculation? For example, that if we are having that in this condition, that for this we have considered one of the formula, that pH plus POH is equals to 14. That means pOH is equals to minus logarithm of the OH negative ion concentration. And then how you can find out the pH for the base. If, for example, if I see that the OH negative ion concentration in this condition is 10 raised to the power, that what should I say? For example, 10 raised to power minus x. I'm taking just for your convenience. So it is minus log 10 raised to power minus x. So the POH comes out to be x. And students, then how would be the pH? pH will be 14 minus x. Okay, so that's how we calculate the pH for the base. So this is the calculation part, basic part, which is required for your class. Okay, for your standard 10th, according to the 10th standard. So this is the condition, student, that how we consider the calculation of pH. Fine. Now students, I hope you are not confused about the things, that how the pH works, that if the pH should like depends upon the H ions and OH negative ions as well. H ions we consider for the acid, and the OH negative ions we considered for base. For the compound to be stronger acid or to be stronger base, it should give more and more number of the H ions and OH negative ions. And for that, we have seen that the pH for the acid, it depends upon H ion, and it should be higher than the pH should be the lower one. Okay, and I have already written all of these things here, so you can find it out very clearly, that left to right when we are going, so the H ion is decreasing. That means this is having the more H ions and it is having the less H ions, and that is why this is a weak acid and it is a strong acid. And on the base of the pH scale, student, we find out whether the acid or a base is a strong one or the weaker one. Okay, like in your exam, if someone gives you that, we have discussed one question already, that the pH is 1 and the pH is 6. So which one will be the more acidic? Try to solve it and tell me the answer according to you. That what could be the answer for this question? I hope you are able to solve it. So students, it is just that if the I have already told you that if the pH is lower, that means if the solution which is having the pH equals to 1, it will be more acidic in nature, and the solution which is having the pH is equal to 6, it will be weak acid in nature. I have already seen, like we have already seen these things, and that's how student we differentiate on the basis of it. And even though we have completed the calculation of the pH also, that it's the concentration of the hydronium ion moles per liter. That means moles per liter, that the concentration which I have written here, student, it is, they all are in moles per liter. Moles per liter. Okay, the concentration is always moles per liter, and that's how we have seen here that how we calculate the pH for the base. The pH for the base is 14 minus x. That means x is the concentration of the OH negative ion. So this is the calculation part for the pH, student, and that's how, student, like if after 10th, if you are going to give any competitive exam, pH question will be there exactly. Okay, pH related to the pH question, like they can give you either logical one, that how the acidity is increasing or how it is going to be decreased, so that's how they can ask you, or they can ask you the calculative part also. Fine. So till now we have completed that what is the pH scale and how the pH scale differ from 1 to 14, and what's the role of the pH scale in determining the strong acid and the weak acid. I hope you got all of these things. You will say that today is a like the lecture which we are attending, it is one of the, what I can say, busy lecture, because yes, student, the thing is that okay, we have done with the questions, so I'll just keep this book here. Okay, so the thing is that, student, that the pH part is a very important thing. Like when students come to class 10, so it's just like the pH for you is a new topic. Okay, so making understand or the making concept clarity towards the students, it's somewhat become difficult. So it's uh, like to clear each and every point, that how pH increasing or how pH is decreasing, why it is for acid, why it is for base. We consider all these things. pH is considered, and even though the color is considered, at the very starting of the session, I have told you this A part, that the color of this litmus paper which we are getting, we compare that color with the pH scale, and that's how we can also find out the like the nature of the solution, whether it is the acid one or the base one. You already know that the acid litmus paper agar hum dekhein, so it's about litmus paper, so it converts the blue litmus paper to red. Blue to red, exactly. And if we talk about the litmus paper for the base, so what it will do, it will convert the red into blue. So that's how the work goes on for the acid and base. Fine. Now students, like, I'm focusing so much over the pH topic. Why? Like, why it is very important? Okay, acid and base is there. Okay, we'll come to know strong acid, strong base. But why we are considering pH as a such a important topic in our life? Like, we what is the thing that I have taken this topic at a very serious note. We take all of the chapters, but it's just that why I'm taking the pH is one of the important topic, because students, not this time, even in your higher classes, when you go, you'll find pH everywhere. You'll say that okay, pH is here, pH is there, so everywhere is the pH. See students, like, why we are discussing about pH this much, because pH plays an important role in daily life as well. Because the effect of the pH, you can say that it is very important. Okay, that if I give you one of the example, that if one crop is there and we want to yield it or we want to grow it, and that crop is requiring the pH of 6, for example, just consider this thing, I'm just trying to make you understand. And the soil in which we are going to grow that crop, and that soil is having the pH of 2, let's say. And what happened, that the crop which we want to require to grow, it will requiring the pH of 6, and we have planted the crop, and after some time what we have find out, that the crop which we want to yield, it is completely, like, you'll find out it is completely damaged, destroyed. And and when you talked about to some person or to some agriculture engineers, that why would it happen that the crops has been damaged, so he'll tell you that the thing is that why your crop hasn't grown, or like why there is the problem, because of the pH difference. The crop which you want to grow, it requires the pH of 6, and the soil which you are using, it is having the pH of 2. So students, at this point you come to know that pH is plays an important role. It is like that, if the pH required is 6, so it should be 6. If it is going to be low, decreasing, or if it is going to be increased, there will be some adverse effect about it. So the similar thing is about our body also, student. Like the body. Okay, so we'll start from here. Yes, so it is the importance of pH in everyday life. That pH in our digestive system. That if the pH of our digestive system is not maintained, as I have told you, sorry, students, the HCl which we are having in our stomach, it is having the pH of 2. But sometimes students, what happened, that if we eat very spicy food like chow mein or something like that, some junk food, or the food which is not good for our health, like sometimes, so what happened, due to which there is some acidity in our stomach. So now that acidity is increasing, that means the pH level is going to be unbalanced. Na? That the pH, if it is required 2, and if it is going to be increased, that means if it is going to be increased or decreased, so what will happen? We'll feel some uneasiness inside our body. Do you get my point? Like, whenever we are having acidity, we feel like so uncomfortableness is there. So that is why student pH should be maintained at that point, and that is why student we use some of the tablets which are made up of the basic thing. Generally it is of sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate, it is there, which act as the anti-acid. That means it is basic in nature. So what it will do, it will react with base, and oh sorry, it is basic in nature, so it will react with acid, and that's how acidity of our stomach gets neutralized, and we find out like, okay, we are feeling somewhat relaxed. So that is why student pH is also very important to be maintained in our digestive system. Fine. Coming to the next property, pH change as the cause of tooth decay. Like if there is the pH change inside our buccal cavity, if the pH is required this much, the pH for our mouth, student, like if I write down here that the pH for the mouth is around 5.5. Okay, so if we require the pH of 5.5 and this pH is going to be like change, so it will cause the tooth decay. The cavity would be there, your teeth are very weak, become weak in nature, you will feel pain, there is cavity in your mouth. So why it is, students? See, the reason behind it, like why our mothers or our father, like our parents, always try to try to keep chocolates or something like sweet things away from us. It's not like about us, but we like if we talk about the small childrens, and even though it is also the same thing for us also. So what happens, student? The sweet, that means if we are eating chocolates, if we are eating sweets, if we are eating candies which are sweet in nature, so if we are eating such type of eatables which are sweet in nature, so what will happen, student? That sweet, when it goes inside our mouth, so the enzymes are present there, so that enzyme will convert that sugar into the acid. Okay, if it is converting into the acid, so what will happen, student? If the acid is going to be formed, so you can imagine the pH is 5.5, and if there is the more acid, so the pH is going to be changed. Exactly, because the acid is having the direct impact over the pH, and if the pH is going to be changed, so what will happen, students? You can imagine that the pH is changed, and if you are not doing brush on the regular basis, so what will happen? Your tooth will have start having cavities because of these only, because the pH is changing, and due to that pH change, your teeth or the tooth sorry tooths tooth starts getting like developing a cavity will be there, or you feel some pain in your teeth. So that's the reason for it. Okay, so student, that is why our parents always forced us to do toothbrush twice a day, like in the morning and one before going to the bed, so that the base which so that the toothpaste which we are using, that toothpaste are having some basic compound, and that base compound will neutralize the more acid which has been produced in our mouth due to uh, uh, the eatables which we have eat, which are sweet in nature, so that the pH should be maintained. Okay, that's why toothpaste is required, student. You got my point? Like whenever you like now in your class 10th, you are elder one, or you can say that you are that much responsible that you can do your own toothpaste. But like the small children which are of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, they always like chocolates and toffees also. That's why their parents always force them to do toothbrush, because if the toothbrush is not there, like toothpaste is not there, that means that acid which is producing in their mouth, it will cause cavity in their teeth or tooth. So that's why, student, we have seen some of these problems generally for these small children or for the adults, for like the for the for we can say for the people who are very aged. But it's like that when we are aged, it is just that the strength is like strength is decreasing. But yes, students, like whenever we use such type of things, we when we eat that eatables which are very sweet in nature, and that's how they convert into acid, and that acid alter the pH of the mouth, and that's the reason behind the cavity. Got my point? And that's how, students, we generally required, or even the students, have you seen that whenever we are having mouth cavity, so when we go to the When we go to the dentist, you'll say that ma'am forgot the name of the doctor who treats that buccal cavity. Dentist. So they always try to give you one of the toothpaste which is very good. So why they give you such different toothpaste? So that the cavity which you are facing, it is going to be removed by it, or it is just that the pH of your mouth is going to be maintained, because they are basic in nature, and the acid which is produced in your mouth, it is going to be neutralized like that. So that's the importance of pH in everyday life. Fine, students, I hope you are getting each and everything. You'll say that ma'am is having a heavy class today. Because students, I like pH part. pH is interesting. Don't you find pH interesting? pH is very interesting. Like, the thing is that when we go to the high class, pH is having that heavy numericals. I don't like that heavy numerical part. I like this conceptual part of the pH, like how pH plays important role in our daily life. Okay. So, like the third point is plants and animals are sensitive to pH change. As student, I have already told you this thing for this with the example of the soil, that or the crop, that we want to grow crop which require the pH of 6, but we grow that crop in the soil which is having pH 2, and the crop has been damaged. So that's how plants and animals are sensitive to pH. Even us students, the pH which has to be maintained for us, it should be maintained. If it is not going to be maintained, then we are going to face some problem. And that's how for the water animals also, that the fishes, see student, it happens sometimes, like I can remember that one of the tragedy was also there, that the water will become very acidic in nature, due to which the fishes and all of the like the water animals which are living in the water, they all died because of it, because the pH should be maintained. I don't remember the exact name of that tragedy, but it's just that, student. Got my point? So that's how the plants and animals also require the pH should be maintained for them. Okay, it's not like that only plants and animals, each and everything that which based upon the pH, so it is always sensitive towards the pH. Okay, so these are the points. Now coming to the next point, self defense by animals and plants through chemical warfare. Chemical warfare means, students, like whenever you are getting any cut through the plants, or like or any of the bees has been cut to your hand or something like that, so how you can do the, sorry, self defense. So students, like whenever honeybee like bites you, so honeybee always inject acidic part in your body, acid liquid she will inject in your body, and you'll find some itchiness would be there, some like you will feel what we say, I don't remember the English word of it, it's just that we feel some kind of jalan would be there. I Jalan. Jalan is jealousy, but for this, I shouldn't say jealousy. Some some kind of itchiness we can take. Okay, some itchiness would be there, and so that's why, student, if the honeybee is insecting acid part into your body, like where she have bitten you, so what you can do, that you can rub the baking soda over it, because baking soda is basic in nature. So the acid which she has injected inside that, so what will happen, that base will neutralize that acid and you will feel relief. So that's how you can use that pH part, that the acid basis part in your daily life also, for the self defense by animals and plants. Got my point? Like the plants which you are seeing, that these are the leaves that if get inject in your body, so what will happen, that it will also inject some acid liquid, and that's how you can use any basic solution, so that you will get neutralized it, and you will feel relief from it. Okay, so that's the importance of the pH in everyday life. You feel that we are having so many things in our life, like if we take science as an interesting subject, or chemistry as an interesting, so you'll find that everything is going to be so much interesting. You'll see that, okay, one day whenever your father or mother, or even you, if you are taking food and after some time you'll feel acidity, so you'll remember, oh my god, the pH has been changed, so I have to neutralize that pH. And to for the neutralization, I have to take some basic part. And it's not like that you are going to eat soap is also basic in nature, but you can't eat soap for that. You have to eat some tablets for that also, which is required for it. Okay, so Okay, so question part is there. Why it is wrong to treat a bee sting with vinegar? That if any bee sting or the honeybee like that is going to bite you, so why should you not treat it with vinegar? I have already told you this thing, that the bee which is that bee when bites you, so that insects inject acid liquid inside your body. And see student, if it is acid and vinegar is also acidic in nature, so what will happen? It will increase your itchiness. Okay, it will cause more harm. That is why it would be wrong to use vinegar at that place. Always use some basic part. Got my point? So we can read the answer also. Since vinegar is acetic acid, so it can't be used to treat bee sting because bee inject acid into the skin, whereas baking soda is basic in nature, so it can be used to treat, whereas baking soda is basic in nature, so it can't be used to treat wasp sting because because wasp injects alkaline liquid into the skin. So there's a difference between the bee sting and the wasp sting. Bee sting injects the acid liquid, whereas wasp sting injects the alkaline liquid. So you should have to use the vice versa of two. Okay, like we can see here that the vinegar is acidic one, so we can't use for the bee sting. We can use it for the wasp sting because wasp sting is basic in nature, so it will get relief from it. But if it is there like bee sting is there, so we can't use vinegar because that insect injects the acid liquid, so we would require some base so that we can get relief from it. Got this point? The another question. Fresh milk has a pH of 6. When it changes into curd, will its pH value will increase and decrease? Why? Think about it. Like milk is having the pH of 6, but we convert it into curd, so what will happen? So students, answer of this question is that the fresh milk which is having pH of 6, when we are converting milk into curd, so what will happen that the milk is having the sugar which is called as the lactose sugar. So that lactose sugar converted into lactic acid. If that sugar is converting into acid, remember the mouth cavity which we have studied right now, that the sugar is converting into acid and due to which pH is going to be changed. So that's how the same condition would be there. If the acid is going to be formed, so the pH is going to be decreased. Remember, so the pH is going to be decreased because we are getting acid in it here, because curd is sour in taste. So the pH value of milk is 6. Since it is acidic in nature, when the milk is converted into curd, due to the action of bacteria do the action, lactic acid is formed, which is more acidic in nature. It is more acidic, that's why pH decreases, and which turns the milk into curd, and that's the reason student curd feels somewhat sour in taste, whereas milk doesn't taste as a sour substance. It is neutral or it is having some different kind of taste because the pH is not that much for the acid. Got my point? That the pH is 6, so you can imagine that it would be a very weak acid in nature. Okay. Explain pH changes as the cause of tooth decay. So tooth decay, we have already discussed this part, that how pH change when we are having tooth decay. So tooth decay can occur when the pH level in the mouth is 5.5. When we consume acidic food and drinks, the pH within the mouth decrease and cause the pH in the dental plaque to fall rapidly below 5. That means you can say that the pH is going to be decreased, and that's how you can say the acidic character is increasing, and that's how the tooth decay would be there. Fine. So students, like we have discussed so many things about pH. It's just that students, that you should have to think about like how we are using pH in our daily life, and like we are using everywhere, but it's just that we don't know about such things. Okay, but now as you are a science student, so you can think about it. You have studied about pH, so now you can see that okay, if you are eating some sweets, so you should do like brush after it. Okay, so that there would be no cavities. Okay, there would be no tooth pain. So that's how, student, we have covered up the pH part in today's class. And students, like, it is the basic part and pH scale and acid, that which one is stronger, which one is weaker, calculation, and how pH is important in our daily life. So these are the topics which have been included in today's class, and I hope you get each and every point, each and everything. And even though, if you feel any difficulty, if you feel that you are having any question or any query in your mind, you can post that question or query over the on the forum, whether like on public forum or private forum, depending upon these conditions. So you can do your post your question and you'll get the answer from it. Okay, and that's how, student, you can easily clear your doubts. Okay, and please like read more and more, study more and more, and try to understand all of the concepts. And yes, student, keep learning from Ask IITians. Thank you. Bye. Bye, students. Meet you in next session.